Hey everybody! Hey everybody! Hey everybody! Hey everybody! Welcome back to Touching Glass Podcast, episode 37. We will unfortunately start this off on a sad note as Ozzy the Darkman Osbourne, I know that's not his first name, but I just forgot, has passed away at 76. He was a big part of my childhood. He was a big part of I assume other people's childhoods. He helped create a lot of bands. He probably helped destroy a lot of bands. But it's a sad day in history because he is a music legend. He did have I think just some complications, and from his youth years. I think they just finally caught up to him at 76. That's not that old, but I mean, you know, I'm happy for him to make it to 76. Most people in his position and in his lifestyle too don't make it to 76. But on a happier note, I was going to start the podcast just talking about typical Boston sports, but then I didn't realize that the Toronto Blue Jays were playing so amazing right now. I get it, there's still like a lot of the season left, but they are 59-41, and they are on a 4-game winning streak, and they are 7-3. I know you can read all that information right here, but it's probably a critical junction that they're doing so good right here. It's better that they're not doing good at the start of the season, and it's probably better that they're not doing good at the end of the season where like they just don't have any momentum. It's good that it's right here, because if they can keep this momentum, they can go into the end of the season and getting to relax. If they're in this position, or even if they're in Boston's position, near to the end of the season, I'm going to see if Boston is in a wild card spot. So actually technically they are, yeah. So if for whatever case, Toronto ends up in Boston's wild card spot here, they're still doing okay. They would just need to literally win 2 games. It's more like pressure. But Toronto, the Blue Jays right now on a good streak right now to stay where they are. They're 32-18 at home. That's huge right now, and it's just their team. I should have actually looked up the team stats. Let me just do that quick. Should have done this before. I could probably actually just cut this part out, but I'll go to there, and I'll be, yeah. So what's everybody hitting? 270, 203. It's funny, like, Vauscher's not playing great, but that's probably why he hasn't played a lot of games. That would actually make a lot of sense. But for the games that he, like, that's this type of team. Like, a lot of people would have written off this type of team, but it's just certain players who are playing great. Like Addison Bargo. Don't know who that guy is, but he's hitting 271. He's played in pretty much a majority of the games. He has 70 hits, 14 home runs, 42 RBIs. He's second on the batting order. He's playing like he's a player on the team. His on base percentage is up there, like it 388 and 829. I just realized George Springer has 12 stolen bases. I wonder if that's why he's not playing in the fields, or like playing. But he's getting 17 home runs. Like Bo Bichette's doing good, Guerrero's doing good. Like everybody's doing good, and it's the expectation of having none. It's the, okay, let's just go out and play and hope for the best. Like, let's figure this out. And if we do bad, people will be like, if we do great, people would be surprised. And I think that's what's happening. The Jays are playing way better than people assume. but there is plenty of time left in the season for anything to happen. They are only, should have not gone away from that screen, but they are only a couple games ahead of where Boston is. Boston's only 6 games behind them. So anything can really happen with the remaining games in this season. There could be injuries. There could be players who go cold. But if the Jays can just hold it until the end, then they can relax at the end of the season, which I think will be great for them going into the playoffs. I think that was always the issue with the Jays in the past, of they would be a wild card spot, or they'd be fighting for that wild card spot, or they'd be fighting for third. They always seem to be fighting at the very end of the season, and it just never seems to go well for them in that factor, because every time, it doesn't matter who they play, they always end up being too tired and losing in Game 5 or Game 6. They got to get back to their, I believe it was like 2019, maybe 2015 Jays, where it didn't matter who their opponent was. Yeah, they still did lose in Game 7, but they actually made it deep into the playoffs and like made a playoff run. Now it's just been a lot of not making the playoffs, or first round, or maybe second round, but like losing very quickly. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I believe the season ends at 100 games or 120. I always forget, because I can't remember if they added more games throughout the season. But we will go over to talk about my team, the Bruins. Right now, the projected number 1 prospect for the Bruins is James Hagens, who it was a shock to everybody that he failed them, because he was supposed to go first overall. But my issue with people saying he's the number 1 prospect and guaranteed to make the team, and he'll be a surefire player, I want all of those things to happen. But that's a lot of pressure to put on a prospect. A lot of people are saying, like, oh, I believe it's the Sharks who drafted Michael Misa. They're like, oh, this guy's going to be an all-star player, he's going to do this, he's going to be great for years. It's like, let's just let him play and see how he does. Because that's why a lot of people still talk about the 2015 draft. They're like, oh, there was Matthew Barzal and Kyle Connor, but it's like, they played great on the teams that drafted them. What if they played terrible on Boston, if Boston drafted them? And what if the Islanders drafted Jake DeBrusk, and he turned out to be a Matthew Barzal, and Matthew Barzal turned out to be a Jake DeBrusk? It's all subjective based. There's even players like Tage Thompson, who come out of the woodworks when they get older. It's not necessarily, it's not a linear line anymore. There's a lot of players in the league that maybe get picked later in the draft, or their careers skyrocket later in their life. Or there's players like Justin Williams, who were only good in the playoffs. He got the nickname Mr. Game 7 because he was Mr. Game 7 in the playoffs. He wasn't that great of a regular season player, at least as far as I remember. So I just want people to not put so much pressure on these players to succeed. Obviously, I want them to succeed. I want them to do amazing. But there's too much pressure. Like, he obviously just got drafted, and everybody's like, oh, he'll come to the AHL team, he'll come to the NHL team. It's like, no, he should probably go back to school. Like, let's see if us taking him at 7 wasn't a fluke, or let's see if us taking him at 7 was a steal of the draft. Think of Kirill Kaprizov. He was picked in the 4th round, and he's now turned out to be one of the greatest draft picks that the Wild could ever make. And it's, like I said, it's all subjective based. I know, like for football, that's the exact same thing. Every draft for pretty much every sport, even soccer, I know there's no drafting, there's transfers, but even that, it's all subjective based of how a player is going to do, what type of schemes they prefer, what type of player that team wants them to be. think of back in the day, Bobby Orr. Bobby Orr was a forward, or a forward, and he was dipping and diving and scooting around every single person. And maybe he was, no, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of was it Brett Burns? I think it was Brett Burns. Um, he was moving around as a forward, and they asked him to play defense, and he became one of the greatest defenders in the game. So it's all subjective based of what type of player that team needs that player to be, what type of just it's just all like let's at least wait a year. Let's wait a year for him to play Boston College, see if he's good enough, then maybe sign him to his ELC, then put him on the AHL squad. Even McDavid played on the AHL squad. I don't remember if McDavid went back to college, but I do like that they're given the choice. Instead of coming back for their senior season, they can do this. But especially for baseball, you can get drafted out of high school, but that's a huge decision. Like, imagine making that decision in high school. Do you want to play for an MLB team, or I guess the AAA or AA squad, or do you want to go to college and like upgrade your skills and maybe become better, maybe become worse? Like, but most college players do end up being better. I mean, again, it's all subjective based, so we will just have to see. But I'll continue to go down this list. But like I said, I'm very excited for James Hagens. And the other thing I realized in the prospect list is they've drafted a lot of centermen, so they have listened to fans. And I'm so sick of certain fans complaining that they're not drafting centermen. It's like they've drafted pretty much only centermen in the last few drafts. There's James Hagens, and then Matthew Portis, who I should actually find a rookie card of his, because I found one for the defenseman. I forget I forget his name now. But Matthew Portis should be a clear cut roster player. I do not want them to constantly drop this guy, bring this guy up. I'm a little sick of that. I don't know if it's weird that this list is talking about an injury from 2 years ago, because obviously James Hagens is here. But yeah, I'm just so sick of them not really playing youth players, and it may be a hot take, maybe not, but I do believe that the Bruins will make the playoffs, and Matthew Portis should have a spot on this team. I mean, like I said, it's all subjective based. He could get injured. He could play cold. There could be another prospect that comes out of the woodworks. That's somebody that's not even on this list. Another name that is intriguing to me, that I heard a lot about even prior to being traded to Boston, because my dad and my brothers are huge Leafs fans. So I heard this name a lot, and I heard this name a lot during World Juniors, is Fraser Minton, another center. And in his first game with Boston, he scored. And I don't know how tall he is. For some reason, it's not telling me that information, but I don't want to waste time and try and look that up. But I very much like this player. He was a moving player, like a great deker. And I believe a decent size. Like, wasn't too small, wasn't too big to be slow. Like, was just kind of right in the middle. He was a part of the Carlo trade that also gave Boston Toronto's first. So Boston now has 4 firsts in the next 2 drafts. They have obviously theirs, and then they have Florida's, and they have the Leafs. Florida's comes in 2027 because of the Marchand trade, and everybody's still up in arms about that. I'm still a little just unsure, upset. Maybe not upset, just unsure how that's going to work out for this one upcoming season. He is 37, so like I don't know how long he has left. He did amazing. I'm not saying he's slowing down, but Father Time comes for everybody, and he's, like I said, he's 37. So we'll see how that works out. Maybe Florida will dismantle their team. Like, we have no idea. They did sign him to a 6-year contract, so maybe he will play for the next 6 years. I highly doubt it, because he'll be 42. My realistic thing is he probably plays until 40, and that's a stretch. Like, he could get injured, and because he is, the league is getting bigger, so maybe one big hit from somebody, and that's kind of it. Same thing with Mark Savard. One big hit, and that took him out for his career. He was a big guy. But we have Dan. The next guy on this list is Dan. I never knew how to say this guy's last name. Locomelis. Again, another center. And he was picked, I believe, if I remember, 4th round. I thought it was the 6th round. He was picked in the 4th round in the 2022 draft. So he's been a couple years into the AHL. He hasn't quite made the roster. I don't think he's ever been called up for like a game or two, but he's gotten the eyes. He's gotten the eyes from the management looking at him. He did great at the World Juniors or the World Championships when it just happened. That's why I like these tournaments. But I do also wish that and somebody else said it in some forum, I wish the NHL would develop the idea that NBA does of the summer leagues, of the prospects that probably won't make the roster, but they're given a chance to play against other prospects, and then they do the rising stars against current stars, or like current, I don't know, it's rising stars against rising stars, but it's like sophomores against freshmen. So it's basically like brand new to the league and already been in the league for at least a year. So it's youth against experience. And I like that they do that, and I would love for NHL to adapt that idea. And I would love for the NHL to keep the 4 nations. Though, the big issue with that is it's right in the middle of the most important section of the season. And it lasts for like a month. So a lot of players like Draisaitl, like Ovechkin, like just a lot of players who weren't a part of the 4 nations had to sit around and practice and do what they can to keep energized, which is, I think, a little unfair to them. So it would be interesting to maybe rotate teams every year. Keep the winner. I believe Canada won, so keep Canada. And then put in Germany, put in, I don't know, I get the whole thing with Russia, but put in just other bigger name teams. But then I guess the argument of that is then it's also unfair for other American skaters. So we'll see what happens with that. But the next person on this list was a part of the Charlie Coyle trade, which I'm not surprised that Charlie Coyle got traded. Yes, he was a typical Boston Bruin, big guy. I believe played in Boston College, but I don't know. But they got Will Zellers, and a lot of people who I think I never heard of this guy, but obviously I didn't follow the Colorado drafting. But a lot of people were very surprised that they got him in the trade because he, I guess, is an amazing prospect. And he's only 19. So I'm a little surprised that the Avalanche would give up on a player so young. Like the Avalanche traded Coyle. This guy was picked in the 3rd round, which in my eyes is like the cap of knowing who you're going to pick. After that, it's all kind of just like, okay, I'll throw a doubt at this guy and hope he's going to turn out to be something. But Will Zellers, only 19, a left wing, was just picked last year. So it does seem weird that they give up on him. And it says here, he set a lot of awards in his USHL debut. And this season, he shattered Green Bay's goal record, led the league in scoring, and was named Player of the Year. Like, that's huge for a 19-year-old. So Boston has some great upcoming prospects. Now, my favorite prospect that I was extremely happy for them to get, and a lot of people Don't like him, but he was injured for a majority of the year, and that can mess you up for the other part of the season. Is Dean Latorda. And that doesn't look like that's how you say his name, but I've heard 1,000 people say it, so it got stuck in my head. He is the 6'7" forward. I've watched him play. This guy knows how to deke. This guy knows how to shoot. If he can just, like, obviously not get injured, but if he can get some more eyes on him, he could be like a Victor, I don't know how to say his last name, the guy who got drafted to the Spurs, who's like 7'2" or 7'5" and knows how to shoot threes. Dean Latorda could be an amazing player if he obviously doesn't get injured. And he is, it says here, the jump to college hockey was a difficult one for him last season. He didn't score a lot of goals, but like I said, he was injured. And I mean, not every single person is going to do amazing in their first year. I really hope this guy turns out to be something. Like a lot of people didn't like the I forget his last name now because he got traded. Frederick. A lot of people didn't like that trade, but I liked Frederick. He was a good player. He was a good scrappy player. I can't wait for Dean Latorda to make this team. And the only like a lot of people obviously are going to relate him to Chara because of the height. Mainly why they brought Chara on. Chara wasn't a fast guy. Yeah, he could take a slap shot harder than anybody else in the league. But when he first joined the league, the only thing that brought him onto an NHL roster was his height, and everybody got terrorized from his height. He wasn't like an asshole to people, but it was his height that made them scared of him. So that's what I'm hoping Dean Latorda can kind of go into. It would also be interesting if they turned him into a defenseman. But the next person on this list is, I believe, a this year draft pick. William Moore at 18, another center, but was just picked this season. I don't know. I don't. Obviously, I don't follow college hockey, so I don't know these names as well. But he is 6'2", little smaller in my mind, 175. But a lot of people thought this guy should have gotten picked higher than he did, and Boston picked in the deeper part of the second round, I believe. Well, sorry, no, they didn't. I'm dumb. They picked him at 7 in the second round, but a lot of people thought he should have been picked at the end of the first round. So I, including other people, think it was one of the steals of the draft. And then we have the next one up is Philip Svedbeck, goaltender, not a center this time. I'm just checking how much time. A lot of people like this goalie. He is 23. That's kind of the small issue, but Boston does need a better backup. I was kind of hoping and a little surprised they didn't trade. Forget his last name now. He's also not signed to a great contract, and that's maybe why teams didn't want to take him on. That's one of the two confusing moves that Boston has made so far, in my eyes. I've been a supportive fan this whole time, but is trading for him and not having the other team take back any salary, and then signing Tanner Jeannot to a 6-year contract. I'm not saying Tanner Jeannot is a bad player, but he's not a goal scorer. He did say he wants to take being the tough guy away from, or just off of the shoulders of Zadorov, which is awesome. But a 6-year contract, that's a little head scratcher to me. We will see if it'll work out. Maybe they're signing him so that they can maybe trade him in a couple years or next year for a pick. I have no idea. Everybody, most certain fans assume they know what their team is going to do, especially Boston, because I'm a part of all of those forums. But nobody knows what anybody's going to do until it happens. There's 1,000 reports. There's 1,000 rumors. There's a million people saying this, that, and other things. And rumors are just rumors. One of the analysts has said that. It's like, rumors are just rumors. You can't believe every single thing. Like, Again, I also follow the Leafs forums because of my dad. In almost every single forum, it said that the Leafs were deeply interested on said player, and it's like, and then it doesn't happen. It's like, oh well, look, like, and then all certain fans try and come up with an excuse of like, oh, we didn't want that player anyways. It's like, you didn't want. I think it was like I don't know. But anyways, rumors are just rumors. You can't believe everything. Yeah, you can go on Twitter and try and be the first one to expose the information. But articles are paid to write articles. Most of them are complete bullshit anyways. Like, that's why I say not to believe every single thing you read. But the next guy on this list is Frederick Brunet, I believe his name is. I believe he was picked in the 6th round a couple drafts ago, but it is not telling me here. A defenseman who, I believe he is a big defenseman, but again, it's not telling me that information. But he's a name that's always been on the Bruins, man, like always just been in the Bruins' eyes, like always been right there, but just can't seem to really hit that mark. But Boston, in my mind, is in a very good position to buy now and build for the future because they have players to make a playoff push, and they have a good amount of prospects building in the prospect pool. Yes, some of them aren't as great, and they don't have as strong of a prospect pool as other teams, but other teams like the Sharks, like the Blackhawks, do not have a chance to be a playoff team or even sniff to be a playoff team. So I'm very excited to how this season is going to start. I'm very excited to how the Patriots season is going to start. I'm just excited for all Boston sports. But the last guy on this list is Chris Peliso, I believe. It's not telling me when these certain players get drafted. But this is another name, again, another center, but this is a name that has kind of come up on the Bruins management eyes. Like, he's been a player that like, you're like, oh, okay, like this guy, and it does say he was among the final cuts, which is very unfortunate. If he could have made Team USA for the World Juniors, that would have been huge. But I'm glad they added that. I'm actually really glad they added that, because a lot of people think, oh, getting cut, like, whatever. But it's like, if you are one of the final people to get cut, then you are a nominee to make the team. You are a consideration, and that's still huge. So I'm glad they actually added that, because then it will give confidence to other players in his position. But as I am getting to the end of this, I will just quickly go over to the Patriots news. The Patriots, are doing Patriots things. Nobody's gotten injured. That's good. Knock on wood. Nothing new. Nothing big has really come out with the Patriots. Really nothing new has come out of the Patriots' time. No big names have been cut. Don't know why that popped up. Let's go back to this, I guess. Right now it's just the off season, but I'm excited for all Boston sports right now. The Red Sox, we just saw right there right there for playoffs. The Bruins are building their team. The Patriots are building their team. Both teams are building their futures. And the Celtics, I believe, I kind of forgot about the Celtics because they've always been a top team. But I'm excited for all Boston sports. Sorry. My brain, I forgot what I was going to say. My brain was thinking of two things at once. But for now, you're awesome, stay awesome, and rock on. Peace.